Ladies and gentlemen, hello. I'm Krasi. We have very important event to speak about. It is about this conjunction between Mars and the Sun, which is happening on the 18th November in Scorpio, in the second degrees of Scorpio. Now, this is very important celestial event, and when Mars and the Sun are conjoining, of course, Mars is invisible, but he's been invisible for quite some time. And Mars and the Sun will receive a square by Saturn, who in the meantime is direct in Aquarius. Now, when you see Mars and Saturn in a square, this is not such a rare event, but it is a sign of tension, important, quite extreme celestial tension. It is a sign of tension. So, why is it a bit unusual now? And what is this going to bring to the world? Now, first of all, let's go a little bit back, and now we'll remind you of other facts that I discussed previously with you. First of all, why we look specifically at Mars? Why is he major player now? Of course, along with Saturn and the others, but he is a major player for some reason. We are in a Martial sub-era. Let me try briefly to remind you about this, because I used to speak about this in other videos. Somewhere in 2014-15, we cannot say exactly the day and the month. Of course we cannot, because we're talking about major eras. But about this I spoke previously. So around this time, approximately 10 years ago, we entered major sub-era of Aries. It means that Mars is ruling us, sub-era of Aries. And why is this so important? Once this happened, we noticed extreme warlike tragical events on Earth. You can research this, I don't want to name them here. Extreme tragical events on Earth. And this era will last long, like 300 and something years, until we live, actually not. In the ancient astrology, every equal zodiacal sign, each zodiacal sign has 30 degrees. Every zodiacal sign we divide into the so-called dodecatemoria. Every dodecatemoria is 2.5 degrees. Each degree equals 72 years. If we entered the dodecatemoria of Aries approximately 2014-15, in 2014 or 15, this dodecatemoria will last 2.5 degrees times 72, approximately 180 something degrees years still to go, while we, the Earth, the human beings, will be in a sub-era, sub-period ruled by Aries, by Mars. Why sub? Because now, as we speak, we are still in the major era of Pisces, and after 360 years we are entering Aquarius. So this is like ending giant astronomical period. That's why the times are so intense, feel very fast, feel very extreme, for this reason, because it is end of time, end of era, and it is also because it is the sub-era of 180 years, which will be ruled by Aries. That's why now every single event which happens to the world looks like Aries, but not at his highest harmonious vibration, but looks dramatic. So following Mars, who rules Aries, let's see what happened. Again, to remind you, 2019 November, Mars, first heliacal rise in Virgo. Boom, we got the disease, the pandemic. Later on, just months before the war in Ukraine, Mars became visible, first heliacal rise in Scorpio. You ask, where is the next heliacal rise of Mars? On the 7th May in Pisces. So what is happening to the world? Why this event now is so significant? Because it is very martial. Because while Mars and the Sun will be meeting, this is happening in the 2nd degrees of Scorpio. And this particular section of the 1st degrees of Scorpio are also ruled by Mars all the time. Then in the meantime, squared by Saturn in Aquarius, very powerful, and the square is quite exact. And then also later on, like I told you, Mars appears in Pisces. But why is it so specific? Because Mars is invisible already. When he forms exact conjunction, he's of course invisible, because then he will be hidden in the rays of the Sun. What are they doing together? Assembly, talk, they discuss. Mars is the Lord of the solar system. He's the father. And, not Mars, the Sun. What am I speaking? The Sun is the father of the solar system, meeting Mars, invisible. It is believed that when a planet is invisible, the planet is descending into the netherworld. And Mars is very comfortable with the netherworld. This is the god Nergal of the mythology. And this is something very secretive that is going on. So there will be assembly meeting between Mars and the Sun, the father of the solar system. What are they going to decide? We can easily make conclusions. First of all, 8th house in astrology, naturally ruled by Scorpio, is very, very, very specific, very, very secretive, very interesting, mysterious. Pluton, the Pluto house. Why? Look, Scorpio is an amazing sign, not only because it is very mysterious, very full of mystery, secrets, fears. It is about death, it is about rebirth, it is about dramatic changes. But also, Scorpio is where you have the royal star Antares, right on the stomach of the celestial Scorpion. Scorpio is on a power axis, because these royal stars, 4 of them, form cross. This cross is very significant. It's very, yes, brings blessing, but also brings extreme events. Also, Scorpio is where we have hermetic degrees, where only 7 are such degrees in the whole zodiac, which point toward priesthood, towards past life of people, into priesthood, into amazing knowledge. And then you have Shaula in Scorpio, which is in the last degrees, where you have the poisonous tail, the poisonous peak of the tail of Scorpio. Poison, healing, homeopathy, natural sciences, magic, secrecy, fear, death, all this is in Scorpio. And so they're meeting there, and they're meeting in the 2nd degrees of Scorpio, where you have another martial degree. Very, very martial, warlike, Pluto-like. Pluto, Scorpio is ruling what is under the ground, hidden, the resources, the minds, ruling the very extreme bad things. But what is happening later? Okay, we have this square, and we assume this is dangerous. And I don't want to program you into danger, because this is very wrong. But we want to be also very awake, and we want to make the right, very precise, to see through. We need to know, because look what is following up later. In May, Mars appears for the first time. I think it was around, if I'm not mistaken, the 12 degrees of Pisces. We can know what this will bring only if we follow historically what this meant. And I made my research, and some people were asking me last time when I was mentioning Mars, where was the Mars's previous appearance in Pisces? Well, you had one in 5th of May 1945. Mars appeared, I think, in the very first degrees of Pisces. What is this meaning? May 5th is when this was approximately around the end of the Second World War. At least then it was declared for some countries, I think for Russia. So, end of the Second World War declared when Mars appeared in Pisces in 1945, officially, because you had other dates too. You will say, oh, but he appears now in Pisces, there will be peace. Well, we are not so sure, and I tell you why. Because the previous year, 1944, Mars made his major conjunction in Libra. I think 28 or 29 degree Libra it was. And I'm talking about 1944, this conjunction. It was also in November. And now, the interesting thing, the Sun and Mars in 1944 in November met in Libra, and later on we had the appearance of Mars in May of 1945 in Pisces, and the war was over. The Second World War was over. But you see, they met in Libra, and the first degrees of Libra, and the very last degrees of Libra are not so malefic. Well, Libra is ruled by Venus. This is a sign of, 7th house of the zodiac, justice, reconciliation. It is the sign when we shake hands to reach agreement. This is the sign, related to justice. So when Mars and the Sun met back then, most probably they discussed the peace. They discussed ending of this world war. And what is happening now? They meet, but they meet in Scorpio and in a section ruled by Mars. And the appearance of Mars in Pisces next year, is it going to bring the end of the war? I'm not very sure, to tell you honestly. I don't think so. Because Rahu will also be there. And because at that time we were not in the mini era of Mars, now we are in such era. And now let me tell you, this cycle, you will ask me how long it will last. The cycles of Mars last 15 to 17 months from now. But we live in cycle within cycle within cycle, and major cycle, the most major, the biggest one was, of course, that we are still for another 350, 60 years, we are still in the mini era of Aries, which is part of the giant era of Pisces for 300 something years. Something year we will end this era, and we will finish also with the mini era of Aries and the giant era of Pisces, and we are already at the gates, at the gate doors of the doorsteps, or how you say it, of the era of Aquarius. And here comes the interesting thing. You see, always end of times are difficult. Always end of times are interesting times. Always interesting times. And we don't want maybe, or we want, I don't know anymore, to live in interesting times. But you see, the thing is, if we are going to face some difficulties worldwide, the war might not reach end, just the other way around. Could be that this accelerates. Is this really written, set on stone? Well, you see, I believe it is, but I still believe we can change things. That's why I think it is very dangerous also for me to tell you it will happen in a bad way or in a good, because it's a very, very dangerous programming, which I don't want to do. Therefore, I will tell you something. Indeed, it's written on the sky. I don't see positive development in Saturn squaring Mars, while Mars is making his negotiations with the Sun. To me, this sounds like there will be something. The thing is, how far we can go in our influencing the cosmos, the stellar events, what is pre-written, what is... Now you see, I will tell you what Master Ben Sedunu said, and he was exactly the one known all over the world. I told you previously, his panorhythmic dances are being performed in Africa, in Asia, all over the world. Every year in Rio Mountains, people come from all over the world to welcome Sirius, the great star, on 19th of August, when you have the God's New Year. And all these, these people are familiar with the knowledge of the Master Ben Sedunu, who came simply to prepare us for the era of Aquarius. So he said the following, because he knew and he predicted these hard times that we will be living in. And he said the following: if in one village or city, let's say 10,000 people, you have one which is decent, and this one is praying, and his prayers will be heard by by God, then this person can save the whole city, the whole village. One among 10,000 decent can save the whole village. And here comes the thing. If, let's say, in the world we are how many billions? 5, 6, 7, 9 already, I don't know. In percentage, you can relate this one in 10,000 people in percentage according to the population of the world. And you can see we can have these decent numbers of people who can really pray in order these dramatic events not to take place, or to be softened, or to be postponed, so that we can really experience them in a softer way. So it is written on the sky. Yes, most probably we will be experiencing difficult events from now on, from the 18th on, for at least 18 months. And you see, in addition, with the appearance of Mars in Pisces, all these eclipses, 5 next year, will take place in Pisces, Virgo axis. It will not be easy, but we cannot program ourselves for the hardship, for difficult, for drama, because we will be certainly invoking this. But if we are decent, and if we pray for this to be changed, it will be changed. So, saying this, let us see what is happening with the 12 ascendants, how this will be influencing the 12 ascendants. And also, before starting, just to tell you, I will also make my next video actually will be about Israel. I made research on eventually when this might be over, but I don't want to mix these two videos, not to make it too heavy. It will be just in my next video. Also, in addition, I started recording the 12 ascendants of the 2024. How the 12 ascendants will experience 2024. And there in my 12 videos, which I will be uploading slowly, and they will be on my channel, maybe within 2-3 weeks, maximum 2 weeks, I believe, because it is quite some work. But when in this analysis for each of the 12 ascendants, I will be telling you how the eclipses will influence the 12 ascendants, this major presence of Mars in Pisces, the movement of Uranus into Taurus, and many other events, very interesting. In addition, already you can find on my website my readings, especially for year 2024 and beyond. They are with a special, discounted price, because they are only for they're around this period of time, the new year. But my readings also will be concentrated on the major events, eclipses of the next year, Aquarius moving into Taurus, all these major events, which are very intense, interesting, and to see how they will influence your own horoscope in detail. Because yes, there will be predictions for the 12 signs, but the details are encoded in your own horoscopes. So let's see now the 12 ascendants and how Mars in conjunction the Sun on the 18th of November will influence you. So we are starting with people who have sidereal ascendant Aries or Moon in Aries, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Taurus. Now for you, Mars is ruling your ascendant, so this is pretty important for you. And Mars is conjoining the Sun on your 8th house. Now, this is a little bit, if you feel a bit down, worried, anxious, don't be. Better concentrate on spiritual activities, researching the truth, but with positive predisposition, with positive mood. Be a little bit responsible, not responsible, but attentive with children. Make sure that you maintain healthy lifestyle. Do not get involved in risky situations, because Mars is also squaring Saturn in your 11th house. And when you make financial decisions, make sure that you made them in a very balanced way, double check, triple check everything. This is approximately for the next month, very intensified. Then we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Taurus or Moon in Taurus, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Gemini. For you, this major conjunction between the Sun and Mars is happening on your 7th house. 7th house is the house of your romantic life, also agreements, also, you have to be a bit more intuitive, diplomatic, loving with partner, careful with partnerships, with agreements. This is not the most appropriate period of time for signing new agreements, new beginnings, and also be careful and very diplomatic at work, because this may intensify a little bit the situation at work. So you may need to be a bit very careful, very diplomatic and wise and patient. Now we have people who have sidereal ascendant Gemini or Moon in Gemini, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Cancer. Now your appearance of the conjunction between Mars and the Sun for you happen in your 6th house. This would say your routine environment. There you may need to be a bit cautious in terms of more diplomatic, because there, stay away from conflicts, disputes. Be careful for your health, more responsible, more careful. Not great time to travel and to start new beginnings, because this is squaring Saturn, who is on your 9th house. So you may need to be a little bit more careful, and and you may need to apply a little bit more willpower when it comes to study. Or completion of study in this particular time period. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Cancer or Moon in Cancer, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Leo. Now for you, this conjunction Mars, Sun in Scorpio is on your 5th house. Well, be a little bit more attentive with children, a little bit careful when it comes to financial decisions, and specifically, when it comes to your artistic work. Actually, this can even be an interesting turning point. But even there, you may need to meditate to reach harmony in order to feel comfortable and continue, let's say, with your talented artistic work, writing, creative studies, and so on. But in general, be a little bit more attentive with children, and specifically balanced when you make money decisions. Now you have people who have sidereal ascendant Leo or moon in Leo, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Virgo. Now for you, well, good that Jupiter is trine in your ascendant. This is very helpful. In the meantime, the Sun and Mars will meet on your 4th house. Now this may bring eventually a small disharmony at home, with parents, also at work. Be diplomatic in all these areas. Also when it comes to making decisions related to property, real estate, be a little bit more careful now. And also be patient with your romantic partner, with partnership in general. This is not great period for new agreements, for new important initiatives. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Virgo or moon in Virgo, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this is Libra. For you, this is taking place on your 3rd house, which would say be patient with brothers and sisters. Careful with your study plans. This is not the best period to travel, to negotiate, also for long distance travel. This is not the most appropriate period. Well, just do your routine as you do, but I would be a little bit more, balanced, careful, especially when you do commercial work, when you teach, when you want to travel, and communication with brothers and sisters also. So, yes, and stay away from disputes in the meantime, and be responsible for your health. Now we have people who have sidereal ascendant Libra, or moon in Libra, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Scorpio. Now for you, this particular conjunction is taking place on your 2nd house, which would say be patient with family members, family roots. Also, when you make financial decisions, be very balanced, very, very careful, and be attentive with children, a little bit more attentive with children. And you have people who have sidereal ascendant Scorpio or moon in Scorpio, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Sagittarius. Now for you, this is happening right on your ascendant, so you may need to be in particular for yourself. Now be a bit, during this time period, be balanced, very spiritual, also patient with your partner, be cautious at work, at home, with parents. This period is a little bit, it's interesting for you, because when it happens on ascendant and the 4th house, basically influences the whole horoscope. So during this especially month, you may need to be a little bit more, cautious, patient, don't get involved into risky situations, and be responsible for your health for sure. And now we're looking at people who have sidereal ascendant Sagittarius or moon in Sagittarius, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this is Capricorn. Now for you, this particular placement is happening on your 12th house. And also it involves the 3rd, particularly, this aspect which is taking place, which would say, be responsible for your health. First of all, Jupiter, your ascendant ruler, is helping in this situation indeed, but still, you may have some hidden enemies activated. So be diplomatic, be very wise, be very careful, patient. Also, not the most appropriate period for travel, especially for long distance travel. And be careful when you communicate with brothers and sisters. Also there, try to be patient, loving, diplomatic. And now we have people who have sidereal ascendant Capricorn or moon in Capricorn, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Aquarius. Now for you, this particular situation is taking place on your 11th house. Be sure you don't get involved into some disputes. This may affect friendships. Be a bit more attentive with children. And when it comes to financial decisions and any situation at work, projects, communication with superiors, be very diplomatic, be careful. In the meantime, also when you make financial decisions, I mentioned, make them in a very balanced, careful way. And now we have people who have sidereal ascendant Aquarius or moon in Aquarius, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Pisces. For you, this shows that you may need to be especially careful at work. There you may need to be very balanced, very wise, very careful, like a little bit low profile even. Also for yourself, it's not most appropriate time to take risks, to get involved into risky situations, or to be responsible for your health. It's not such a long period. I mean, you can manage. And now we have people who have sidereal ascendant Pisces or moon in Pisces, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this will be Aries. For you, this is happening on your 9th house. In general, this is trine in your ascendant, so I don't think you're in a deep danger, but still not very appropriate moment for long distance travel, negotiations. If you are doing study or you follow a certain education or philosophical, let's say, program, make sure that you continue this, avoiding any disharmony. Be very precise, time-oriented, disciplined, because also be responsible for your health. And this is not the most appropriate moment to travel or to what else, to long distance travel, negotiations, new beginnings, when you may need to also be a little bit patient. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was about this conjunction. Your comments are very welcome, and see you soon. Talking about Israel and other important transits. All the best.